Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between the Warriors of Chaos led by the Warp Chicken and the Wood Elves, who are going to be led by a Glade Lord atop her mighty Great Eagle. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So up here in the Vanguard area, we do have three groups of the Marauder Horsemasters. Definitely very solid against the Wood Elves. If the Wood Elves do bring Glade Riders with Hagbane tips and Glade Riders, these guys are going to be in a little bit of trouble. They have shorter range, and honestly, Glade Riders are just an all-around better skirmisher. However, those aren't really a common pick in the Chaos matchup, because Glade Riders themselves don't really have the best armor piercing, so against Chaos Warriors and Chaos Knights and the Warp Chicken, they're not really going to be able to generate a lot of value. Therefore, you can usually get away with bringing the Marauder Horsemasters. Hopefully, they'll do well. But these guys, honestly, you just bring them to keep your opponent honest in the air. So if they have Hawk Riders, or let's say a Forest Dragon, or a Glade Lord on a Forest Dragon, who likes to just sit above your army, get breath attacks, and just have all kinds of fun at your expense. These guys are really good for kind of keeping him in check, poking him down, and just generally harassing. So we do have three groups of the Marauder Horsemasters. We're going to be using them to chase down the Hawk Riders and these other flying monsters. But you can see my opponent did go with the Wood Elf Helms Deep. So I've seen this a couple of times. I'm not sure if it's a new thing, but somebody did it to me like a week ago and then the week before that. But this was definitely a pretty good game here. But regardless, you get the Treekin, right? They're very tanky, hard to kill, physical resist, durable against charges. Chaos Knights aren't going to be able to do a whole lot. Now there are Chaos Warriors. And then what you do is you actually stack Eternal Guard. You get the, all the elite troops, so like the Winterheart Guard. I think he does have the Wardens of Sithril as well, who have very, very good armor piercing and anti-large. And you stack them in a bit of a triangle like this or any sort of formation. So it's very tough to crack. Then what they do is they fly over you with the Glade Lord and the Hawk Riders. They pick apart your isolated units of your army. And it can definitely be pretty stressful. So pretty excited to see how this pans out here. I already know how it pans out, but I'm just putting on a show. But regardless, the Hawk Riders up here getting a little bit of harass on me. So thankfully I was so happy I brought these guys. For my front line, it's my typical build against Wood Elves. It's just going to be Chaos Warriors with the Mirror Guard. So 3 Chaos Warriors in the Mirror Guard here. We do have the Warp Chicken as well. Warp Chicken is going to be really good against this strategy because it's very blobbed up here. So the final transmutation is going to be very powerful. So hopefully we can get that off. And in the back, this is the reason why you bring Halberds. You can see all the Treekin over here. Sometimes Wood Elf players will throw a 360 in the metagame and just bring Treekin and things like that. And you will not regret having these Halberds. They're going to be your saving grace potentially. So we have them. We have the Chaos Knights with Lances, which I usually use to shut down Wild Riders. We got Chaos Poison Warhounds over here, and an Exalted Hero on the Wyvern. So it's actually really good. He can chase down Hawk Riders. He can't. I don't think he can win a fight against a Forest Dragon, for example. But again, he can pressure them, and with the support of the final transmutation, he can do a ton of work. Just a powerhouse unit for the most part, and I actually think it is pretty good in this matchup. It's not just something I'm experimenting with. I do actually like it quite a bit here. So unfortunately, he doesn't have a shield, despite the fact that he's literally holding a massive tower shield. That's pretty strange stuff there. But he does have the Hawk Riders. He's got the Glade Lord on the Great Eagle, ready to prey of an Anthronomy. And then he just has the Elven Helms Deep, so I do like this quite a bit. It's very thematic. It's like he's surrounded in the forest here. So the Wardens of Sithril, he's got the Winterheart Guard, Eternal Guard, Firebark Elders. It's going to be a tough cookie to crack for sure. So guys, without further ado, let's get this show on the road. So right now, just getting some skirmishing, poking up with the Marauder Horsemasters. I was actually trying to hit the Hawk Riders. He does get some counterfire here. But again, this is going to favor the Marauder Horsemasters in the missile exchange. As Hawk Riders do have a little okay damage output, but they're more of a hybrid unit. And something a lot of people don't know about Hawk Riders is they actually have really good AP in melee. So if you can rear charge Chaos Warriors that are fighting Eternal Guard, or even Chaos Knights with Lances, and they're not taking the brunt of the charge, the Hawk Riders can be just absolute world beaters. So right here, I do charge in the Warp Chicken. You can see he's using some Foul Witchcraft, and I do get a final transmutation, so it hits everything. And that was overcasted, so you can see it's just melting everything, doing some really, really good damage. And my opponent moving out of that box, going to be repositioning, and I'm sure he'll be reacting with an Earthblood. Granted, the Earthblood is really going to counter that to a large extent. You can see one Earthblood is going to pretty much top most of these guys off. So well played to my opponent there. In the meantime, getting some good skirmishing. So I'd send in the Exalted Hero. He's very tanky, like I said, almost 4,000 HP, which is about the same as Grimgore. And yeah, the Marauder Horsemasters providing Overwatch, picking apart the Hawk Riders. You can see they're terrified from the Manticore, so getting a lot of value out of this guy. He's definitely paying his dues. And the rest of my forces are just moving forward. So in the meantime, surrounding my opponent with the Chaos Knights with Lances. I do have the Poison Hounds surrounding as well. So just I'm not going to be charging them in terribly aggressively. I'll probably be pulling them back and maybe charging them in when I see an opening. But for the most part, I'm just going to wait for his troops to break and then, try and get some scraps. But I was like, hey, you know what? He doesn't have any missiles. Let's go ahead and get a charge, see if we can do any damage. We do a little bit, but I'm going to be pulling back almost immediately as he does have a ton of spears there. The Winterheart Guard not having any of that. But it goes very well. You can see that my Exalted Hero just an absolute pimp up here. He's fighting the Glade Lord on the Eagle. He's winning that duel pretty heavily because, again, the Glade Lord on the Eagle doesn't have the best AP in melee, so the Manticore actually has a huge advantage there. Also do give it the standard die there, so you can get melee defense. So the Marauder Horsemasters are going to be chasing down the Hawk Riders and generating a ton of value, just pushing these guys around, just bullying them. Just the sheer volume of fire coming from 45 models as opposed to 15. I mean, their missile damage is relatively speaking the same. They have 43, these guys have like 37, so it's pretty negligible there. Anyways, the Chaos Warriors are going to be advancing into the Helm's Deep formation, so Sigvald's personal bodyguard have decided to help out the Tzeentch monster today. And the Mirror Guard are going to push in, so Chaos Warriors definitely very good at the long grind game. And Treekin do not hit hard at all. They have really low melee. I mean, they hit hard, but they have low melee attacks, so not always going to do the most damage. So just trying to get a full surround. So these Chaos Warriors pile in, the other group running around the flank to collapse here, and I just want to have his army fully enveloped. In the meantime, the Exalted Hero is going to be chasing down the Glade Lord, and the KFC Lord himself is going to be charging into the ranks, trying to dunk on some of these guys, but he has a lot of high mass troops with these Treekin. And what's kind of cool about the strategy for my opponent is he's going to pull me in, and then he can get Flock of Doom. So I'm very blobbed up. Here comes the first Flock of Doom, which is a lot cheaper than Final Transmutation. Also looks like a Prey of Anathrama comes in, so I did try and charge in with the Chaos Knights to get, some free goodies, and was planning on pulling back. But here he comes. He swoops in with all the Hawk Riders right here, getting a nice rear charge of my Chaos Knights. That's actually going to do a ton of damage. It's a little bit hard to see their HP with everything going on here, but yeah, that's a really good play by my opponent. But I was ready for it. I had all of my Marauder Horsemasters in the back here, and I'm getting massive volley fire on the Hawk Riders. He does get an Earthblood as well, which is going to top off a lot of his troops in the center pocket, but the situation's going pretty well. We've dealt with the Hawk Riders for the most part, so his skirmishing is offline. My Hounds are literally just sitting like, man, I do not want any part of that. I could have charged them in for poison, but I was just being really conservative. I didn't want them getting caught in the Flock of Doom. I basically just wanted to break a Treekin or an Elite Eternal Guard unit. Well, not Elite, but high leadership. And here comes another Final Transmutation. So this is going to be really good. A lot of his forces are starting to get pretty worn down. And now that I don't really have to worry about the Hawk Riders, you can see my Marauder Horsemasters are just going to be teeing off on the Treekin. In the meantime, the Exalted Hero is just going to be chasing around the Glade Lord, definitely putting some good pressure. The Warp Chicken is going to be flying in as well. And one group of Hounds is positioned over here, the other one positioning here, just trying to get that full surround, just waiting for something to break, but it's taking so damn long. So he has a pretty fancy play here. He decides to land, so he pulls down with his Lord to attack my Chaos Warriors. That then pulls my Exalted Hero in, and I kind of get trapped amongst these Firebark Elders. So these trees here are going to start laying a whooping on my Chaos, or Exalted Hero, but they're not going to do a ton of damage. But he does have his two casters as well as his Lord, so it's a little bit scary for my Exalted Hero. Thankfully, he is very tanky with, how is his melee defense only 34? I could have sworn it was more. Maybe when he's up on the Manticore, it's just lower, but the last of the Hawk Riders are being focused down by the Marauder Horsemasters here, and from there I'm just going to be using them to cycle charge. But finally, the Helm's Deep formation is starting to buckle a little bit, so the Final Transmutations, plus just the sheer volume of aggression here from the Mirror Guard, are finally wearing these down. My opponent gets another good Flock of Doom, so the Flock of Doom hitting all of my Chaos Forces, just massive value from that 6 Winds of Magic spell, if I'm not mistaken. He also does get a Prey of Anathrama on my Lord, which is so tough because that's going to make him, well, I guess there's no missiles, but I guess if the Glady wants to shoot it, he'll potentially be a little bit squishier. But it's rough because it pins him in place, and he's going to be taking a lot of unnecessary damage from those spears. But at least he's retaliating here, and he does have some knockback, so he can potentially knock him away. But I definitely need to get him out of here ASAP because he's taking quite a bit of damage. So now you can see the Vultures are circling the Marauder Horsemasters here, and here on the far side. The only spot I don't really have any units over is on this side here, but the Chaos Warhound should rally here in a moment. But the Wood Elves are starting to get pretty tattered. Bounce of power is even, but this is a huge turning point right here. So this Exalted Hero, he just tanked everything. He beat the brakes off that caster right there. So he just started beating on that Spellslinger with the Lord of Life. And now that she's out of the pen, the Hounds are free to hunt. So the Marauder Horsemasters are going to be chasing her down, keeping her from coming back. And this Exalted Hero, he's basically going to do the same thing now to the Spellslinger with the Lord Beast. So the Manticore up here is doing quite a bit of damage. Another Flock of Doom going down, but now my opponent doesn't have Earthblood. He doesn't have any way to heal his blob after I was able to get his caster. And the Chaos Warriors are just so resilient in the face of this, all these spears and armor-piercing weapons here with the Loix Tricksters and the Wardens of Sithral. But they're getting in there, they're piling in, and they're slowly starting to wear down my opponent. He does get his Glade Lord up in the air, but at this point, it's looking pretty grim. You can see that his other spellcaster, the Spellslinger with the Lord Beast, is taken out by the Exalted Hero. So this guy, truly fitting of his name, truly an Exalted Hero of the Warriors of Chaos. And now on top of that, he's going to pile up in the air, he's going to attack the enemy Lord, and pretty much seal the deal, as all of the Wood Elves here are breaking, with the exception of the Winterheart Guard and the Firebark Elder. So at that point, my opponent is going to bow out of the game. It was definitely a very fun one, for sure. Unorthodox stuff. But I really do like seeing Wood Elf builds like that, where they're using like Treekin and just tactics, like just ridiculous stuff. It's always a little bit more fresh than having to like chase down like, Way Watchers like hiding in the corners of the map and things like that. So it's quite a bit of fun. But yeah, this is kind of my standard army against all Wood Elves, like an all-comers list. The Chaos Warriors in the front line can beat any of the Wood Elf infantry, very good at absorbing missile fire. On top of that, Chaos Knights with lances, shielded, very good against Wild Riders and chasing things. Hounds just to apply pressure. Marauder Horsemasters to keep them from sitting above you with dragons and Hawk Riders and things like that. one group of halberds to really just kind of hold the line in case they do bring Treekin. Like if they bring a Durthu, you can just send halberds after him. Yeah, they're not going to kill him, but at least it puts pressure on him. And then the Exalted Hero. The Exalted Hero is just kind of a good all-arounder, good at chasing flying units, pressuring flying lords. He's pretty durable. And yeah, honestly, I really do think he's quite good. And I look forward to kind of trying him in other matchups. I do think that he's a little bit underrated, especially on the Manticore, Fear and Terror, and all that stuff. For my opponent's army, the Wood Elf Helm's Deep, you guys saw it in action. You saw the Winterheart Guard, the low extrictors, all that kind of stuff, which was, it definitely took a while to crack for sure. But I think the fact that I had Final Transmutation was just so good. If I had brought like Lore of Death, for example, I don't know if I would have been able to crack it that quickly or at all. Certainly would have been tough. But the Marauder Horsemasters did really well, as well as the Exalted Hero. So anyways, very well played to my opponent. Caps Lock equal good player. Oh man, definitely. All my names are often in caps. I don't know if that's a dig at me, but you know, it is what it is. But well played to my opponent. Caps Lock, good player. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Chaos vs. Wood Elf game, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.